I trust you more than me.
Okay. I'm going to run a real concise meeting.
All right.
What's your coffee?
Everyone good? You think? Okay.
All good.
I'm recording, so we have a few minutes for the blooper reel at least.
All right.
So I guess to kick things off, we're here tonight because of stories, and they're really important stories, and they have lessons to teach. Before we dive into that, though, let's start with quick introductions. My name is Kirsten Swann, and I'm a former broadcast journalist, and I'll be your interviewer tonight. Stephen?
My name is Stephen Hawley, Tukunka Iga Eshla. Originally from Taonik. We're Denina. Our tribe is Tabona. And I brought my nephew with me, Julian. We're both from the same village. And yeah, these are my brothers.
I'm Arthur Konkoff from Titilik, Prince William Sound.
Robert Sugar from Gasiluk, Yuvkesmo.
It's good to have you all here tonight. So Stephen, I know all of you have a few things in common, but you're all here in the same room tonight for a reason to share some things. Can you tell me a little bit about what brought you to this room tonight and the things you share that brought you to this table?
So first of all, to put it out there, we've all just kind of messed up. You know, I mean, we've really had some lessons in life that didn't just affect us, but I mean, in the end, we learned from that. And as we started talking about, you know, just some of our viewpoints, it really started to resonate. You know, the way that they were talking, you know, made a lot of sense to the way I think about things. And so I asked my brothers if they wanted to just get together and talk about what we learned along the ways of from going to being a problem with the community to being a part of the community, and actually just what got us to think like that.
You say messed up, you say problem, so I guess let's talk specifics, as many or as few as you'd like. What did that look like for you?
Felony charges. I mean, a lot of uncomfortable scenarios. You know what I mean? So the event was a shooting for me, and I was really I got into that situation just by not thinking about the larger community. You know, I was put in a scenario that got me to act contrary to the way I usually think, and there was a lot of repercussions. And one of the most impactful ones for me was the way that the community looked at me just changed from me being somebody that was a positive part of it to somebody that there was a lot of questions on what my intentions were. You know, there was just a lot of uncertainty, and you know, if I would actually be around to actually fill a role inside of it. And so, I mean, I've spent a lot of time, you know, trying to prove my intentions and my commitment to it. And this video is really trying to get into the details of, you know, how that came about.
Arthur, for you, what was your path like that led you here to this table and this discussion here today?
Mine? A lot of alcohol, a lot of drug abuse, but mainly suicide. My father he committed suicide when I was 3, and I attempted to commit suicide when I was 99, when I was 99, a few years ago. But yeah, back in 99, I attempted to commit suicide, and I just wanted to bring awareness.
How has the community, tell me about your understanding of community. That's something that Stephen talks about a lot. Maybe how it's shifted from where. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, we get the same sense that we're all out there doing what youngsters do, you know, to entertain ourselves, whatever that may be, gang banging, thugging, partying. But yeah, that was the only thing that I had to give back to the community at the time. And to be able to give back now in a more positive way really means a lot to me. Because I was out there doing a lot of knucklehead stuff, you know, it wasn't good at all. So it means a lot to me to be able to turn my life around and be more of a positive role model to my younger generation.
Robert, when you hear that about being a positive role model to the younger generation and turning your life around, what does that mean to you now, and what do you think, how does that apply to your story, and what runs through your mind when you hear that?
It's different because like before I really didn't care. There wasn't any type of concern. In terms of how it connects with my story is that I spent 23 years in prison, and I got to see a lot of what the youngsters think about nowadays. And I've realized that in order to keep myself safe, my family safe, my friends safe, there has to be like a definite change. Like not only in my mindset, but also accepting the fact that like, not only am I being watched and also being observed, but I also have like my other family, nieces, nephews, what have you and whatnot, doing the same thing. So, I mean, I guess it just really stems from there. Just understanding the responsibility and the wherewithal of just knowing like what's right from wrong. If that makes any sense.
Absolutely. I'm curious how your individual experiences, which I understand were all very different, how did they affect your understanding of that individual responsibility that you see yourselves having to your community today?
Well, I mean, it really causes you to be better than what you know now. I mean, responsibility wouldn't be nothing if it was easy. But I mean, in order to make sure that you're there on time and in the right state of mind, you know, really committing yourself to something that's outside your normal lifestyle. I mean, it is part of your lifestyle, but I mean, it's something that I don't know how to explain it. Like, you choose it, but if you don't choose how it's going to be, you know, you just choose to be committed to it and adjusting to what it means to be a good citizen, a good community member. You know, just being that part, not that problem.
A year ago today, I wasn't even thinking about any of this. Like, this happened for me all by luck. Just knowing the right people and having the right conversations, you know what they say, have conversations with winners. The conversations are different, and they were, and they're leading to better places, and I appreciate that.
my situation is kind of weird because like before getting out, I was like a part of the treatment community and whatnot, and it's just one of them things where like you just give a spoken word and then like you got left to deal with it. I ended up speaking some stuff that I just really didn't think about at the time, and then now it's just kind of hit me all at once.
All right, bro.
Which is super awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's funny how that happens sometimes.
I know, right?
Just by happenstance, just got an idea, not even that, just an intention, and then it turns into an idea as we talk with folks. I mean, so I'm always preaching the same thing because it's like sometimes people forget it somehow. It's like we don't all know everything, but I mean collectively we know quite a bit. So if we just kind of just try it out, see if people are intending the same thing, if they're thinking the same way, and see what happens.
Arthur, you mentioned a second ago conversations with winners and how they're different. I know that's a piece of advice that I've heard before too, but it makes me think of the advice that you might have access to as a child and the advice that you know now, the wisdom that you've accumulated with experience. What advice, what would you tell youth now? What other things like that you would pass down that could make a difference, do you think?
To listen to what other people's advice is, to really listen, because a lot of it comes from a good heart and a sound mind and a place where that person has been in a similar situation as you. So they're not just throwing random stuff out there. They've been in a similar situation. So the advice is more sound. Like some of the advice that we want to give is doing your manly duties. Like say, like me, for instance, I was a father. I became a father at the age of 17, and I didn't man up. I wasn't there for my first 2 children, and it affected the way that I was a father later on in life, because I knew the mistakes that I had made, and I knew how much it meant to be there and be a father to your kids, and what a big impact that makes in your children's life. So we want to give advice like that, just have the younger generation know that even though it is a struggle, it is super scary, that it's something that you got to stick through, the benefits that you get from it and the benefits that your children are going to get from it are just, once in a lifetime. You don't get that back, I got, like everything that I do as a father now, I try to do better than as opposed to when I was not there for my children, because you see the difference, you see the differences in their decisions, you see the differences in how they grow up, and you tend to live with a lot of regret on the things that you were absent for. So if we could just have kids not make the same mistakes as us, that would be a step in the right direction for us.
Amen.
Did that make sense?
Yeah. That was on point, bro.
It definitely made sense. I would say it's sometimes probably easier said than done, and that's where the value of experience and stories and sharing experiences like yours comes into play.
Yeah.
Stephen and Robert, what would you add on to that? What lessons are particularly important for you to communicate?
Man, it's like a really unfair question. I know, right? Along the same lines, in terms of listening, like I'm starting to realize that like with the younger generation, there's all different kinds of ways of just like delivering a message. So it's just like you can't really pinpoint like one really down, except for what you actually have like in your immediate home. So like, I mean, I got youngsters at home right now, and they observe everything that I do, and it's just that like with them two, I get the whole, well, do as you say, just, I got to follow what you say. Whereas the other one will not only do what you say, but will follow what you say and then question you later. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So it's just like knowing like the bullheadedness and like the stubbornness, I understand that like some people have to go through it to get where they're going. Whereas others, they could like actually sit there and just watch and just like learn from your mistakes. So I guess at that point, it's just like all really a matter of perspective. So I guess like with what Stephen was saying, like once it gains traction or what have you, I get nervous really easy.
Same here. We're in the exact same boat. Yeah.
But this kind of topic, nervous because like it's a slippery slope. You know what I mean? I guess after you lose something, when a kid's like looking for something to gain, I guess it's really up to you just to like be that person for them to find. Makes sense.
Yeah. I mean,
That makes a lot of sense. And also what you said about perspective and also kind of about communication styles and just knowing how to reach people where they are. But especially perspective. I'm curious how have your perspectives shifted over the years between now and 5, 10, 25 years ago? And how does that, I imagine that informs, that would be something valuable for others. So
I would say, I mean, it includes a lot of putting your attention on things that you wouldn't in the first place. I mean, nowadays I drag my nephew all over the place. And back in the, I mean, I've been doing it for about 10 years, but I mean, if you go back 15 years ago, you know, I wouldn't have brought him where I was at. I wouldn't have been places where I could bring him. And I had to learn to be able to I had to learn to be able to go places that were beneficial for him, you know, like bringing him here, or, I mean, going to potlatches, or just helping me work, you know, just whatever, you know, keeping him around so that he ain't getting in trouble or any more trouble than he already is. So, you know, just trying to keep that down a little bit just by, you know, keeping him around, you know.
you have someone very literally following in your footsteps and tagging along with you different places.
All over the place. I mean, all kinds of things. I mean, just, yeah, all over the place.
The question was, what was our mindset 25 years ago?
Yeah, how have your perspectives changed? Yeah. That's a big question, I know.
Well, for one, I don't have it all figured out. You know, as opposed to when we were 25 years ago, we had it all figured out.
Yeah.
When you're a teenager. I wish I would have took notes.
I know,
So I would have known what to do later on in life. Because, man, I had it all figured out. Now it's like, I don't know.
Sometimes those notes are taken.
Yeah.
Everybody's got it back.
yeah, got black and white.
But the mind shift, I'd have to say, goes towards having a family mentality, you know, like being a family man, wanting the best for my family. That and being sober. Helped a lot with
Yeah.
shift.
Like going cray-cray?
Yeah, you know, put a pause on the cray-cray. Or tone it down a little bit.
Dampen that down a little bit at least, you know? Exactly.
Even that, just the achievement of maintaining sobriety, what have you found has helped you most with that?
Well, I had to completely cut off everybody that I had hung out with and partied with, and like people that still maintain that lifestyle. Like, I don't really kick it with anybody, you know. There's a few people that I hang out with, but none of them drink, you know. So you gotta change your surrounding. You gotta change your surrounding, change the people that you hang out to, who you look up to. And it helps to have a good support system at home. Like, the people in my family don't drink either, so that helps out a lot. But for the most part, though, it was almost dying. I was drinking for 2 days straight, and on the second day, I tried to quit cold turkey, and my body gave out. And I thought that it was just a rough hangover, and I tried to sit it out for a while, and it just got too intense. So I ended up going to the ER, and when I went to the ER, they told me that if I had waited a few more hours, that I would have died. So that really brought to light all of the negative stuff that I was doing in life, you know, like almost dying really does it for you. And after that, I never really had taste for alcohol anymore. Like, I didn't want it anymore. I didn't want anything to do with it. That almost dying, because I lost control of my legs. And that scared the life out of me. And because I use my legs for everything. But yeah, I think it's the fear mostly, you know, like anytime I do think about drinking again, the memory comes back, and the fear of almost dying, and the thirst goes away like that. So I think I'm blessed more than anything.
Look like you had something to say.
How do you feel, Robert? Yeah. I've heard blessed, I've heard fearful. I mean, people are talking about a range of different emotions. How would you describe it?
My shift was different because, like, well, for one, like, I wasn't ready for parole. And I, like, to be honest, like, doing that length amount of time, you really don't care about parole either. You know what I mean? So, like, when it hits you, it hits you. And then you, like, realize that, like, you got a chance to get out. And then at that moment, there was a lot of things that shifted simply because, like, man, I was trying to get out of jail. And like, I realized that the people who was in my surrounding circle wasn't supporting that. And they weren't advocating for me to actually really get out. In fact, they were actually advocating for me to actually really stay in. And it took 3 times. But, like, after each time, like, it just got better. And then like right before this last time, it wasn't exactly a hangover, but what it was that I went through kidney failure, and I just didn't want to be known as one of those dudes that was just like, hey man, did you hear about him? He almost got out, but he clocked out at the right second.
Man, you don't want to be that.
Bad way to go.
So like I realized that like when I came back from that, like not only did I have a second chance, but like me getting out gave me a second chance. And like I realized that like at any moment, like God like really touched me at that moment. Like he really put his hands on me. He was just like, look, dude, you're really not all that. I promise you, you know what I mean? And then like when you're on like the cusp of like losing everything literally, I think that's where a lot of people actually really undergo that serious change, because then you're just like, I got to do something different because obviously this isn't working. So then ever since then, I've been trying to like surround myself with people who would like be a positive network, someone who's going to lift me up, as opposed to just like keep me down. And I kind of help. It kind of helps in a lot of different ways, because like where you're stuck in a situation where everybody else is making your decision for you, it's different hearing the other perspective of being able to make the right choice at the right time on your own free will.
These stories really illustrate the importance of the people you surround yourself with. You've all mentioned it at different times, you know, the people who are advocating for you to successfully get out, and people who are there with you, are able to help you stop drinking. And Stephen, for you, you know, along the way in all different ways, I think that seems to be a recurring theme, that the community and the people you surround yourself with have a big impact on the direction you go.
Oh, definitely. And if you pay attention, you could always see who's really there for you and who's just there using you and what you have to offer, you know, because the people that you surround yourself, if you choose to surround yourself around people that truly do love you and care for you, they'll never ask you to do something bad. They'll never offer you drugs. They'll never get you drunk and leave you somewhere. That's real tough.
How long did it take to learn that? It seems like it could be a hard lesson to learn. Take a while sometimes.
Not only a hard lesson, but man, a painful one.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, it took, I'd say the last 10 years when I've pretty much put my foot down. It was like, nah, I can't be that dude anymore.
I think for me it was the first time I really realized how much I respected people around me was when I ended up in the hospital. I got attacked one night and I was laid out. Like I couldn't think. The doctor was talking about whether or not I'd come through, and if I did, would I be a vegetable or not? And for 3 days straight, there was at least 20 of my people, mostly my tribe, but friends also, just everybody just kept on showing up. And I realized I don't want to die like that. I don't want to look like that if I go. I mean, we all got to go, but I mean, I don't want to look like that. And it really started to get me to think about how I wanted to lead this life, you know, what that would look like. And then when I got locked up and I realized I'm going to live a lot longer, I don't want to look like that. I don't want it to be just another inmate, another convict getting out. You know, just my life was a different trajectory than that. You know, I mean, I had different expectations, and I did not want him to see me going through that cycle and seeing what that would look like. I mean, got different expectations than that of me.
It seems
And I
like it
think
could
that
be. Okay.
the different crowd that you have, you know, like
Yeah.
once you got a different crowd, you got different expectations. You got to live up to, you know, it's not. Yeah, yes, a whole different vibe.
Yep.
A more positive vibe, and it just all seems to move forward better.
Not such a criminal vibe. Like,
Yeah, like
people ain't
everything's
coming
on
up
the
with
low.
ideas. Yeah. People come up with too many ideas when they're hanging out with, the wrong crowd. It's like, there's so much dumb things to do and like not enough time to do it. I mean, yeah. I don't know what to say after that one.
Well, it can be, I imagine that can be really hard sometimes because, I mean, it's never easy to leave people who are your friends, people who've been part of your circle for a long time. Then you come to that realization that needs to happen for you and your well-being. What motivates you to make such a big and difficult change for yourself? And how are you able to really stick to it?
The looming felonies.
It was freedom for me as well.
Yep.
Yeah, the last time I went to jail, it was just a constant, what are you doing here? You know, like, you're grown. You're a full grown man. What are you doing here? You know better.
Yep.
And, you know, when you don't have alcohol to blame that on, you're really stuck with your consequences, you know. When you're sober, asking yourself that question is different because you're going to find an answer. And it may not be the one that you like.
Yep.
I think I'd have to say like I lost both my parents last year. And then like I realized that like I'm their legacy. And I mean, it hits different like that because when you're a man in your family, like there's a different expectation on you simply because you got to contribute. And I thought about the overall bigger picture, and I realized that like even with them gone, it's way bigger than that. Even if, say for example, like I leave, it's bigger than that. I just want something better for my family, bottom line. You know what I mean? They deserve better for me. And man, they just get that. They just get it. For me, there's like really no other choice. But I think the best thing out of that is, I guess you could say, like the happiness that you receive when people expect you to do something different. And then it's just way worth it. People expect you to be like out of control or whatever and just expect you to wild out. And then you're just like, oh. Yeah, right? I don't know why that brought back
That's a good point though about just people's responses and how, you know, you don't want to disappoint people. Then also they might expect you to be doing something and you go and surprise them. How have people's expectations of you, do you think, influenced the paths you've taken and where you are now?
For me, it's in my, like I've always avoided jail. You know, when I was younger, I'd end up in there for something stupid. And I'd get out really quick because, I mean, it was lesser charges. I mean, I would just always think, all right, I don't want to spend too long in there. I mean, a few days or, you know, that ain't too bad, but I don't want that image. And then when I was stuck with that image, it really made me think about how much people just don't trust me. You know, I don't like that because, I mean, I don't have a degree. I don't have money. I don't have a lot of things. But what I do have is my name and my word. And if those aren't good, then, you know, what do I got? So, I mean, I really started to choose how I wanted to be seen. I mean, I can only impact people's reaction to what I'm showing them, you know, so much. But I mean, what I can control is, you know, whether it's good or bad.
I think being a teen, well, that's the timeline we're speaking of, right? Kind of, basically, it's when we were teenagers.
Yeah, and when we learned lessons.
I really didn't care, like, what anybody thought of me. Like, as long as I looked cool. As long as I gave off the impression that I was cool or cool to be around, fun to be around, I really didn't care. Like, as long as I made a good impression. Back then, I was more of a people person. You know, I wanted to know everybody. I wanted to be everybody's friend. And then later on in life, you find out that you don't really want to be everybody's friend. Because if you're everybody's friend, you know, you're probably doing something wrong. Right? Nobody likes everybody. You don't want to be that dude that everybody likes.
Yep.
The chances are they like you for the wrong reason. But yeah, as far as but to flip that around, now it makes more of a difference, you know, like it matters to me, like what I put out there, you know, as opposed to what I used to. Like, there's a lot more PG, so to say.
That desire to have everyone like you, though, is so relatable, especially as a teenager, to feel like people accept you and are, you know, that, like you said, you're the fun one.
Yeah.
Robert, how do you see all of that influencing the path that you ultimately went down, and how did that play into it for you? Just expectations and you know, things like that, other people's expectations.
I remember when I was a kid, I was pretty heartless in those matters, simply because, like, I didn't care about other people's expectations. It just wasn't a part of me. I really didn't care much for people. And that carried me different because, like, I realized then there was a lot of people who are hurt. Some of it's irreparable, some of it isn't. And like now, what makes the ultimate difference is just like knowing that I call my PO right now and just being like, this is what's going on. And then her having like full confidence in what I'm doing. Because to be honest, like when I was in prison, I didn't care about no PO. I didn't care about nothing else. Now I'm just like, what do you want me to report? Got you. But even that in of itself, people like really expect me to like really fail on parole. And now that I'm able to actually like prove them different, and it's not even about that. I don't even care about that. What I care about is just taking advantage of my second chance. But it's crazy because like I'll see people, I mean, it's already been like a good, what, 4 years? Yeah, about 4 years, and people were just like, "Man, you're out still." Why is that even surprising, bro?
You want the answer?
It seems like it's kind of at some point the shift or the balance between other people's expectations for you and your own expectations for yourself, and kind of how that changes over time.
Excuse me?
It seems like that kind of changes over time, you know, what you expect of yourself and how you weigh that versus other people's. Yeah.
Yeah.
Only I can look like my little 14-year-old self in the mirror right now.
Yeah.
What would you tell your old 14-year-old self if you were looking them in the mirror right now?
Study. Study. Just study. Don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about being cool. Just study.
Find people to trust. Like, that's my worst ability, my worst skill. And my life would have been so different if I would have learned to trust people, and especially trust the right people.
I don't know, this may sound like a joke, but it's really not. And it's usually a common expression I use to people is just, "Man, you be all right."
I feel that.
You be all right. I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does. Being 14, there's a lot of anxiety, and I think maybe looking back and being able to tell your 14-year-old self that everything's going to be all right, like maybe that's what you needed.
I think at 14, you'd have to ask yourself, what are you talking about?
Right.
What's going to be all right?
You're about to find out, kid.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you? Yeah. 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 What do you know that I don't know?
Yeah. What's on the agenda?
Now sitting here, I mean, we've been talking for a little while now. How do you see your obligation to your community now, and you know, your responsibility toward younger generations, and how do you hope to carry that out? Just a simple, easy question.
By doing more stuff like this and reaching out to the community, we have a lot of ideas on what we want to do and the kind of outcome we're hoping for. But it's steps like these that are going to bring us towards our ultimate goal. So thank you.
And I want to follow up on that. You know, just continuing this and thanking you for helping us and just keeping the effort going and asking people that know things different than what we know to help out. I mean, obviously we don't have all the answers, you know, but I mean, if we just keep at it and just keep on expanding our circle, you know, finding the right people to help us out, getting different results, new ideas.
People seem to be really inspired by other people's stories of what they've been through and what they got through. And, you know, if you could find a similarity in someone else's success story and that gives you some sort of hope, then take it, you know, because whatever you need to grab onto to get you up, do it. Take it.
I leave time for Robert at the end in case. I don't know if you wanted to tag anything on there, but I didn't want to cut you off in case.
Well, Yeah, I mean, I believe like the message would be like congruent with the common interests and like the common goals of other people, because like when it goes in tandem, it's like it's broadened. It's a bigger idea. It's the circle gets bigger, especially when the commonality is there. And I believe that like once more individuals are actually able to identify the commonality and like being able to relate to it, when the circle gets bigger, then the circle just gets bigger.
Yeah, that tandem, that commonality. I mean, what we're trying to talk about is something that every group of people deals with. It's just we're the men of our group of, we're the men in our community. So now we have certain tasks, certain responsibilities, something that everybody's got to do. And so all we're trying to do is talk about within that, what did we learn? And what we're finding out is it's the same as everybody else, you know, not exactly, you know, the extreme sides of our stories, but I mean, the commitment, you know, impacting the younger generation, you know, talking about, you know, we're just observing and seeing what we know and what we don't know and, you know, reacting to it, seeing what happens from there. And it's just kind of our chance to report on what we've seen as a success and, you know, what pitfalls to look out for. And it's the same as anybody else except for, you know, it's got our style on there. It's got our colors on there, you know, it's just got you know, our flavor. Yeah, yeah.
Totally. And I think, honestly, I think the wisdom of your combined experiences, coupled with the, you know, your intention to come here and to use it to really make a difference in your community, I think that's what will help it expand those ripples and the circles that you're talking about and really leverage it and help it go farther. So
Yeah.
I'm very, happy to help in any way I can. And thank you for sharing so much with me tonight. I don't know, was there anything else that you wanted to add or that you felt would be very important to share on this recording, with the knowledge that we can always come back and we can always do another one if we listen to this one and realize that there's something we missed or another topic that we wanted to tackle?
So the young one heard, what'd you learn?
I learned a lot. Hearing 3 different stories at once, but then at the end, all three stories ended up in the same place. So then, in any way you try to act bad, it's just gonna end up in one spot.
True that.
And that spot is a conference room telling your story to the youth years and years later. No, I'm kidding.
It's ugly.
The absolute best case scenario, I think. Doing what y'all are doing tonight. Yeah.
I agree. It's been a great ride.
It's a lot better than
No.
Jack.
This one says he doesn't know how to, what?
Talking about.
Kids. You don't understand kids.
I know. I throw out an answer sometimes that I think is right. Sometimes I'm right. Sometimes I ain't. A lot of times I ain't. But I mean, y'all know I'm at least gonna be there.
Well, that's why you always have me or any other kids in the group around, because we'd always help you.
I know that.
We were joking around in the previous video calling this guy a stepdad. You know, 'cause he's like, I'm so clueless. We're like, yeah, I'm sure a lot of stepdads feel that way. That's basically what he is to these kids, you know. Just father figure, more or less.
Yeah, they deserve it. They deserve somebody that's actually gonna do better than what they know. And that's why. So I like coming within my own little circle, you know. I mean, there's such a variety of intel right here. There's so much right here, you know, talking with you. this is a chance just to expand on what we know, come back with stuff that we don't know. I mean, a whole new expectations, all new vibes. We gotta pass it down. Somebody that's gonna do better than us. Is that an idea?
Yeah.
I love that. And it's occurring to me now, maybe you've already thought of this already, but I mean, you do all obviously get along very well together. You have like bouncing off of each other, great conversation. So, you know, the local Anchorage radio station, KONR, the low powered radio station, they have their little studio, I think, in Spenard. They're always looking for new community programming and shows and things like that. In my experience, they've been very open to things like that. So if you are interested in that, I think there would absolutely be an interest in having just some kind of show or something like that where you get on for 30 minutes and just talk about, you know, whatever. You could take it in any direction you want. It could be your experiences. It could be current events through the lens of your experience, things like that. But just kind of life lessons and, you know, whatever you wanted it to be. But along these, yeah.
We have people calling in.
Oh yeah.
To talk about their life.
Yeah.
I think that would be
Yeah. All right.
right.
You could definitely do that.
Yep. It really is that easy. Just talk to folks. Everybody has such great ideas. I mean, I hate it when people ask me what I think. I mean, you know, there's always such great ideas out there, more than what I'm thinking.
That is a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. I am, I think, going to stop the recording. Are we officially?
All right.
You're like, I thought you stopped minutes ago.
Yeah.
No, we'll trim it. Okay. Before, obviously, we put this into videos, it'll be trimmed up and produced into chunks that capture what you want it to.